I moved into the neighborhood in early October. It looked exactly like the kind of place people dream about living in. White American streets, clean sidewalks, modern two-story houses with warm lights glowing through massive windows. Palm trees moved slowly in the night wind. Every driveway had expensive cars. Every lawn looked perfectly trimmed. At night, the entire neighborhood felt strangely peaceful. Too peaceful. The place was called Ashton Grove, a rich suburb outside Phoenix, Arizona. The kind of neighborhood where nothing bad is supposed to happen. That illusion lasted 4 days. The first strange thing happened around 1 a.m. I was sitting in the kitchen scrolling through my phone when I noticed something outside the window. Every house on the street suddenly turned their lights off at the exact same moment. Not one by one. All at once. The entire neighborhood instantly went dark. No porch lights. No windows. Nothing. Only the yellow streetlights remained. At first I thought the power went out. But my kitchen light still worked. My TV stayed on. So did the air conditioning. Only the houses outside went dark. Every single one. I remember walking toward the front window slowly. The street looked completely empty. No cars moving. No people outside. No sound. Not even dogs barking. Then after maybe 30 seconds, every light came back on. At the exact same moment. Like nothing happened. I stood there for a while trying to process it. Then I convinced myself it was probably some weird electrical issue. Because human brains will do absolutely anything to avoid admitting something horrifying is happening nearby. The next morning I asked my neighbor about it. He immediately looked uncomfortable. "You saw that?" I laughed nervously. "Yeah. Weird blackout or something?" The man stared toward the street for a few seconds. Then quietly said, "Don't look outside if it happens again." That was it. He walked back into his garage without another word. That night I stayed awake on purpose. Around 12:53 a.m., it happened again. Every light outside shut off instantly. The street became dark and empty again. This time I noticed something else. There was someone standing beneath the streetlight at the end of the road. Tall. Completely still. Too far away to see clearly. At first, I thought it was just another neighbor. But something felt wrong about the way it stood there. No movement. No shifting weight. Nothing. Like a mannequin placed in the middle of the street. I stared at it for almost a minute. Then suddenly every house light turned back on. The figure was gone. I barely slept that night. The next morning I drove around the neighborhood looking for security cameras. Almost every house had them. That made me feel better. If someone was walking around outside at night, cameras would catch them. Right? That evening I introduced myself to another neighbor named Melissa. When I mentioned the figure under the streetlight, her face went pale immediately. "You looked at it?" The way she asked that made my stomach tighten. "Yeah." Melissa glanced toward the road nervously, then lowered her voice. "People here don't do that anymore." I asked her what she meant. She hesitated before speaking again. 3 years ago, a family disappeared from this street." I laughed awkwardly. "What does that have to do with the lights?" Melissa ignored the question. "The father called 911 before they vanished." "What did he say?" She stared directly at me. "He said there was somebody standing outside every house on the street." That night I locked every door in my house. I kept checking the windows constantly. By midnight, the neighborhood looked normal again. Warm lights. Cars. Palm trees moving in the wind. Then at exactly 12:53, darkness. Every house light shut off instantly. The silence hit first. No distant traffic. No wind. Nothing. It was like the entire neighborhood stopped existing. I slowly looked toward the streetlight again. The figure was back. Closer this time. Standing in the middle of the road. Tall and unnaturally thin. Its arms looked too long. I couldn't see a face. Only darkness beneath the streetlight. Then the figure moved. Not walking. Just suddenly closer. Like frames missing in a video. My chest tightened immediately. Something about the movement felt deeply wrong. I stepped backward from the window. And that's when I heard knocking. 3 soft knocks on my front door. I froze instantly. The knocking came again. Slow. Gentle. Almost polite. I looked through the small glass beside the door. Nothing outside. Then from somewhere farther down the street, I heard another knock. Then another. Then another. Doors all across the neighborhood. Something was knocking on every house. I suddenly remembered what my neighbor said. Don't look outside. But of course, I looked outside again. Because humans consistently make terrible survival decisions the moment curiosity appears. The figure now stood directly beneath my streetlight. Maybe 30 feet from my house. Tall enough that its head almost reached the lower tree branches above the sidewalk. Completely motionless. Then every porch light on the street flickered once. The figure disappeared. A second later, something slammed against my backyard fence. Hard. I nearly dropped my phone. Another impact hit the fence. Then silence again. I grabbed a flashlight and moved toward the back window slowly. The yard was empty, but the gate stood open. I knew I locked it earlier. Then I noticed footprints in the grass. Long, narrow footprints leading toward the alley behind the houses. I called the police. The dispatcher sounded strangely calm when I explained what happened. Almost like she'd heard it before. A patrol car arrived 20 minutes later. The officer refused to leave his vehicle at first. That should tell you everything. Eventually he checked the backyard quickly with a flashlight. Nothing there. But before leaving, he quietly told me, "If the lights go out again tonight," he paused, "stay away from the windows." Then he drove away. Around 2 a.m., I finally fell asleep on the couch. I woke up sometime later because of movement outside. Every house light was off again. I checked my phone. 3:13 a.m. The street outside looked darker than before. And this time, there were multiple figures standing outside. One beneath every streetlight. Tall black silhouettes motionless in the road. Watching the houses. Watching my house. I counted at least 7 of them. Then slowly, every figure turned toward my window at the exact same moment. I stumbled backward immediately. My heart felt like it stopped. Then all the figures began moving toward the houses. Fast. Too fast. Streetlights flickered violently outside. I heard running across rooftops. Then screaming somewhere farther down the neighborhood. Not loud. Cut off suddenly. The lights came back on instantly. Everything outside looked normal again. Empty streets. Quiet houses. Nothing there. The next morning, police cars blocked off part of the neighborhood. One house near the end of the street stood completely open. Front door hanging wide. Nobody ever came back out. Melissa was loading boxes into her SUV when I walked over. "They took someone last night," she whispered. I asked her who they were. She shook her head. "Nobody knows." Then she looked directly at me. "But they only come when the lights go out." That afternoon, I packed everything I owned into my car. I left Ashton Grove before sunset. As I drove away, I noticed something standing beneath a distant streetlight near the neighborhood entrance. Tall, thin, completely motionless, watching my car leave. And when I looked in the rearview mirror, every light in the neighborhood shut off at once.